What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman back at it again with another video. My jaw is still on the floor next to me. I can see it sitting right there from what we watched last night. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills kicked off the NFL season by whooping the Los Angeles Rams' ass on their own home field, taking them down 31-10. The Super Bowl champions came out on their own home turf and got their asses handed to them. We can talk about this game for hours upon hours on end because of how much happened in it and how much I loved every single last itty-bitty second of it. From Josh Allen's stiff arm to Josh Allen reaching the ball over Bobby Wagner, from Stephon Diggs trash talking the shit out of Jalen Ramsey's burnt toast ass. Really could not have gone any better, and let me tell you, I did not expect it to go the way it did, but I'll get into that a little bit later. I have 4 takeaways from the first week of Buffalo Bills football that I want to get in with you guys. So with that in mind, let's get right into things. The first takeaway I had from last night's game was the impact that we saw Ken Dorsey and Aaron Kromer have on the offensive side of the ball. I think an improved offensive line, I'm sure, certainly helped, but we saw the impact of Aaron Kromer, the new offensive line coach, who came from the Los Angeles Rams, I may add. Even with the interior shuffling around a little bit throughout the game, it was rare the pocket collapsed on Josh Allen. It was rare that there wasn't a hole for a running back to run through. We averaged 4.8 yards per carry in that game, including Josh Allen's scrambles, of course. Granted, Von Miller obviously wasn't on their sideline anymore, but the Rams pass rush is still no joke. Any pass rush that has Aaron Donald on it is going to be a handful to take care of, and our offensive line took care of Aaron Donald and almost erased him from the game. Obviously, some credit goes to the offensive line themselves, but I gotta give credit to Aaron Kromer as well. He had an impact in this first game. Same goes for Ken Dorsey. His first game play calling for the Buffalo Bills, he was near perfect. His best call was easily the 3rd and 1 that Josh Allen ran the bootleg on, and he just tossed it over to Gabe Davis, who scored the first touchdown of the game. Put Zach Moss in the backfield, set it up like you're gonna plow right through the offensive line, and you just throw it over the top. Ken Dorsey dialed up the deep shots at the perfect time after moving the ball up the field slow and methodically. It was just a beautiful game. For my next takeaway, this is going to be a hot topic for the Mafia over the next week and a half or so. Did Isaiah McKenzie / Zach Moss / James Cook basically carve out their own graves in week 1? That may seem dramatic, but these 3 guys are definitely going to be under the microscope going into Monday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans. Are they going to be getting the roles that we all thought they would be? Start with McKenzie first. He obviously dropped that pass, which led to Josh's first interception after he was 10 for 10 on his first 10 passes. So he had a touchdown later on in the game, but unfortunately, sometimes the negative outweighs the positive, at least in my mind. Isaiah McKenzie's supposed to be stepping into the slot wide receiver role and kind of filling the shoes of Cole Beasley, and I have been saying it all offseason. I think that is far too big of a role for him. The pass that McKenzie dropped is the exact type of pass he's going to be seeing on a weekly basis out of the slot, and if we can't trust him to catch those passes regularly, he just doesn't deserve to have the position. It's plain and simple. Jamison Crowder, on the other hand, who obviously Isaiah McKenzie is competing with, I thought he had a very solid game. The interception that Josh threw the second time around could partially be blamed on Crowder, but I thought Josh threw that ball slightly late. I think there's blame to go around there where, unlike Isaiah McKenzie, he just flat out dropped that ball. Otherwise, Jamison Crowder looked confident, he looked comfortable, he looked very, very secure. Looked like a true veteran out there, not to mention he was fielding punch, which is going to be big going into next week. In my opinion, I think it's looking kind of bleak for Isaiah McKenzie, at least as a starting slot receiver role, and I think that's honestly how everybody should have been viewing it. Jamison Crowder has been a starting slot receiver for his entire career. He's handled the workload like Cole Beasley's seen in the past. Isaiah McKenzie's never had over 40 receptions in his entire career. It was just unrealistic to expect him to step into that spot with full confidence, full security, and be able to do it as well as Cole Beasley did. Of course, there was Zach Moss and James Cook. They both had a fumble respectively. James Cook only had 1 carry, and that was dropped. It was definitely the rookie jitters for the kid. Zach Moss, man, I mean, he was having a very strong game up until the point he did drop that ball. I mean, he was catching passes out of the backfield. He looked like he had some strong hands. He was balling through defenders on some carries. If you can't hold the ball, I don't want you on the football field. I don't know what it's going to take for this coaching staff to give Devin Singletary the keys to this backfield. I don't know what he's got to do anymore. He was obviously one of the best players on our offense last night. Devin averaged 6 yards per carry. He was bursting through holes, avoiding tacklers, running through guys in the secondary. Just don't know what else Devin Singletary is going to have to do at this point. That's the only critique I have of the Buffalo Bills offense last night, is that they would refuse to give Devin Singletary a majority of the touches after he clearly has deserved it. My third takeaway, which is going to tie into takeaway number 1, and I'll explain how in a little bit, but Josh Allen looked basically unstoppable. He looked inhuman last night. That was one of the most complete performances we've seen from him in his entire career. We saw how Josh Allen was being Josh Allen, extending plays, running with the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, making things happen with his legs. But we also saw from Josh Allen in combination seen was his ability to dissect that defense. He looked like a pure pocket passer more often than not in that game. Not sure if it was Al Michaels or Chris Collinsworth that said it, but he looked like Tom Brady in that game often, and that's not a bad thing whatsoever. Josh Allen snapped the pass attempt time last night was 2.19 seconds. He was taking the snap, stepping back, looking through his reads, and getting the ball out instantly with deadly accuracy. The dude literally broke the Bills franchise record for the highest completion percentage in a regular season game at 83.8%. Even on plays where Josh Allen was forced to hold on to the ball a little bit longer, that's never been a bad thing for Josh Allen. The longer he has the ball in his hands, probably the better. Was represented in the stats, man. Anytime Josh Allen had the ball for longer than 2.5 seconds, he had a stat line of 7 completions for 143 yards and a touchdown. This all ties into takeaway number 1 because I have never seen that kind of performance from Josh Allen under Brian Daboll. We've seen him pass like a maniac before, make some stupid throws we've never really seen. The way that game was dialed up, the game plan that was in place, and the way Josh Allen was able to execute it, that was the first time I could sit back and say he looked like a true pocket passer. And that Tom Brady comparison, the way he was stepping back and getting the ball out quick, was not inaccurate. That is, like I said, credit to Ken Dorsey, and those dialed up deep shots were perfect against the fronts we saw, and Josh Allen hit those with perfection. It's the quarterback I've been waiting to see Josh Allen become, and if that's a taste of what Josh Allen's got to bring this season, will be unanimously crowned the best quarterback in football, and quite possibly one of the most complete quarterbacks we've ever seen in NFL history. My fourth and final takeaway of this game is regarding the defensive side of the ball, and it was the defensive line and how they basically won this game for us. As amazing as Josh Allen played, as unstoppable as he looked, it was the defensive front that won this game for us. There was a point in time where that game was 10-10 going into half, and we had 3 awful turnovers on the offensive side of the ball, but it was the defensive line that kept us in that football game, that made sure the Rams weren't capitalizing on those turnovers. Every single snap, that defensive front was ferocious. Every single snap, Matthew Stafford was disturbed to some capacity. I did pick the Rams to win this game in my pick'ems. If you did not know I released my pick'ems, I did pick the Rams. I fully own that. I did not factor into my prediction. What I didn't predict is the Bills' defensive front just doing what they did last night. Our defense actually looked like the best defense in football. Not last year. What we saw last year was a fake number 1 defense. That last night was what a number 1 defense actually looks like. The defense that can sit in 2 high safety, that gets consistent 4-man pressure, is going to be the best defense in all of football. We saw it from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 2020. And the way that Bills defense played last night was just a replica of what we saw from the Bucs that year. That is what the number 1 defense in football should look like. And Von Miller is the reason for that. I didn't expect Von Miller to have the impact he did in week 1. I mean, my God, I think he had 2 sacks. He was disturbing the edge all damn game, giving Matthew Stafford nightmares. In the interior, because of Von Miller, looked like it was the best interior in all football. Don't get me wrong, guys like Daquan Jones and Jordan Phillips, who were getting insane amounts of pressure up the middle, they deserve all the credit in the world, but my God, Von Miller was the true game wrecker, and he was the reason why those guys on the interior were getting as much pressure as they were. The exact impact that I thought Von Miller would have for our defense, I just didn't think it would be as soon as week 1. This stat right here is what an actual number 1 defense stat looks like. 0 blitzes, 7 sacks. That is what consistent 4-man pressure will look like. With all that being said, Von Miller is my MVP of this game. As good as Josh Allen played, our offense stuttered at points throughout the first half, and our defense was the reason why the Rams were not able to capitalize. So yeah, those are my 4 takeaways from last night. Man, we looked like that Super Bowl contender all the national media has been hyping us up to be, and I have not liked all that national media hype, man. It's scaring me how much hype we're getting right now. Oh my, did we go out there and live up to it against the reigning Super Bowl champions on their own home field. Wow, I mean, there could not have been a better statement to make. Let me know any thoughts you have down in the comment section below. I hope you're enjoying your Victory Friday, and as always, if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I'd appreciate that. And go over to Twitter, follow me over there, I'd appreciate that as well. I have a TikTok down in the description that I think you should check out, and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.